Hi, and welcome to part 2 of Deep Rest, Hasidic explanations of the sabbatical year. Yesterday we looked at the connection between the sabbatical year and Mount Sinai. Today we're going to take a look at something very, very practical, a concern that you would expect people to raise about the sabbatical year. The Torah says, a little bit further on in our Torah portion, V'chi somar, perhaps you'll say, Ma nochal b'shana hashviyas. What am I going to eat in the 7th year, right? If I don't plant, I don't harvest, and I let the field lie fallow, what am I going to eat in the 7th year? God says not to worry. V'tzivisi es berchosi, I will send you my blessing, and the 6th year will produce enough to cover you and to hold you, not to worry. The explanation that we're going to look at now, the Hasidic explanation that we're going to look at now, takes a look at this question and answer, and starts by asking a very reasonable textual question. Right? The Torah is saying that you're going to let the land lie fallow, right? You're not going to plant, you're not going to harvest in the 7th year. Then the Torah could have easily continued and said, V'tzivisi, God could say, V'tzivisi es berchosi, I'll send you my blessing, and year 6 will produce enough to cover you. What's remarkable, according to this question, is, what's notable is that it says, you might say, well, what am I going to eat in the 7th year? Why does it have to bring up the question at all? Why mention the question? Right? Why not just simply say, you're going to let the land lie fallow in the 7th year, and I'll send you my blessing? What is the purpose of this rhetorical question? So based on that, we're going to take a look now at an explanation which is quoted in the name of Rabbi Zusha. Rabbi Zusha was the brother of the Noam Elimelech, Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhinsk, and was one of the students of the Baal Shem Tov. And he's going to present an explanation of this. Let's start. We're going to read it through with you in the English. We'll start there, and then we'll come back and we'll read it in the Hebrew. So let's take a look in the English up on your screens.
And when you will say, what shall we eat in the 7th year, etc., and I will command, says God, I will command my blessing to you. The holy elder, Rabbi Mordechai from Lechovitz, may his memory be a blessing, said in the name of Rev Zusha, may his memory be a blessing. There is to be particular as to why the Torah wrote the question, when God could have simply said, I will send you the blessing. This is my note. God could have reassured us without resorting to the rhetorical device. And he explained that faith and trust in God is the conduit through which blessing is sent to a person. And when a person loses their faith for a moment, the conduit is blocked, and God must therefore renew the flow of blessing as it was originally. Thus, the Torah is telling us that when we have a moment of slippage in our faith and ask, my note practically, what shall we eat? Then God must send his blessing, i.e., renew the conduit through which the blessing will flow. However, were we not to ask questions of faith, my note, and not have moments of doubt, the flow would continue uninterrupted and there would be no need for a renewal.
I'm going to read this selection again. I'm going to read it from the Hebrew original and then add in a little bit as we go just to clarify the questions and the answers. By the way, the book that I'm working from, the sefer I'm working from, is known as Toras Avos. And Toras Avos is a collection of the sayings of the Hasidic line of Slonim, starting with its origins in Lechovitz, with Rab Mordechai Milchovitz, who we're about to encounter in this remark, and then through the other locations they had until they finally settled in Slonim, and then after the Holocaust settled in the land of Israel, where they're currently split between two rebbes, one who's in Yerushalayim and one who's in Bnei Brak. Okay, having said all of that, let me reread for you now inside this statement. Perhaps you will say, what will I eat in the 7th year? So God says, I will command my blessing. The elder of Lechovitz said, in the name of Rabbi Zusha, that there is to be particular about why it is that the Torah wrote this question. It could have just written, V'tzivisi es berchosi, God could have just said, I'll send you my blessing. Why? So now he explains, because emuna and bitachon. Emuna is faith, in God, and bitachon is reliance on God. They're related, obviously interrelated concepts. Emunah and bitachon are they are the conduit through which God sends blessing into the world. So if I'm a person of emunah and bitachon, then I'm a person where I've got a clear channel, if you will, and God can send me blessing. However, if a person slips a little bit, and their faith in God and their confidence in God, their reliance on God is diminished because they start to question, so then the channel is blocked. And in order to unblock the channel, God has to once again, he has to renew the channel. And how does he renew the channel? He sends his blessing and renews the channel with us. And as long as we maintain our faith and our confidence in God, then we'll have a constant flow of the goodness of God, which comes to us. In this approach, we're now getting into what's often at the root of Hasidic interpretations, and that is Kabbalistic concepts, and in particular Lurianic Kabbalistic concepts. In Lurianic Kabbalah, God is where God is. We're down here. How does anything get from God to here, or just as importantly, from here to God? There are pathways. Right? You may have seen the 10 spheros, the 10 spheres, the emanations. It looks like a little bit of a pachinko board, right? Comes down from God and it splits out and comes back together and splits out, comes together, but eventually makes its way down to earth. So there are pathways from God to earth. And those pathways have to be unblocked. They rely upon being clear in order for the flow to happen. So obviously various things can block up the flow of goodness from God. And in this case, one is a lack of emunah and bitachon. When there's a lack of emunah and bitachon, so then it gets blocked up. But then we're really in trouble. It's blocked up. What are we supposed to do? We don't have the emunah and the bitachon. We don't have the faith in God that we should have that will reopen the channel, because it's our very lack of faith in God at the moment, or our questioning of God at the moment, that's blocking, so to speak, the channel. So how is it that we can't open the channel? And therefore God says, I will send my blessing and I will reopen the channel. So the purpose of the question is to highlight that when there's a lack of emunah, not to worry. Even if we damage the conduits between us and God through a lack of faith, through whatever failings we have as human beings, if we damage that flow, God reopens the channels again and again and again, and gives us another opportunity to display our faith, and another opportunity to display our goodness, and another opportunity to improve by constantly renewing that channel. God is doing a tremendous chesed, a tremendous kindness to us. Because if that channel's clogged, goodness can't reach us. We can't unclog it because we lack the very thing. Our very lack of faith caused the clogging in the first place. God unclogs it. And so we have a powerful message of renewal and of the mercy of God in the laws of Shemitah. God goes out of the way in the Torah to write that you should just be aware. This is all based on faith. And you might quite reasonably question, what am I going to do in year 7? It's a reasonable question, especially, by the way, these are people who are living in a subsistence environment, a subsistence economy. One bad year could wipe them out completely. Who knows what would happen to them, sold into servitude or starved to death. I mean, the possibilities were very significant. So a person might reasonably say, I don't know if I can act on faith right now. When we do that, we are basically putting a blockage between us and God. Thank God. Thank God. God clears that blockage for us. It's a tremendous, tremendous kindness. The mitzvah Shemitah calls upon us for faith. That faith can be challenging at times. It's very comforting to know that God fixes, if you will, gives us opportunities to repair after we display a lack of faith. God gives us opportunities to repair that which might not be reparable otherwise. We might really have broken the relationship by questioning God. Not to worry. God reestablishes the relationship and gives us new opportunities to display our faith, to display our confidence in God. May we continue to strengthen ourselves in our faith and confidence in God, and through the mitzvah of Shemitah, through the mitzvah of letting the land lie fallow in the year, see that the Jewish people in the land of Israel, when they are living in a proper time, when there is real Shemitah and the Jews of Israel are really resting, that this is symbolic of the great faith that the Jewish people must have in God, a faith which in our times we hope we have seen rewarded many times over, and we hope to see rewarded again, and that God should, God willing, get us through these very difficult times and the difficult days ahead. Thank you for being with us.